What would you tell your 20-year-old self now? If you can go back in time, what would you tell yourself, or someone who's just starting, who's 20, starting a family?
You have to listen to that inner voice inside you. Call it a gut feeling, call it your moral compass, call it your greater calling. You got to answer to it. It's very, very important to manage your reputation. You know, it takes 20 years to build a reputation. That's what Warren Buffett said. It takes 20 seconds to lose it. So reputation, integrity is key, honesty. Secondly is enjoying in life what you do. When I graduated college finally after getting a degree in finance real estate in 1985, I said, where is the best place to learn the business? They said, there's this place called Marcus Millichap. And I said, you know what? I want to go talk to these guys. And they'll never hire you. They'll never let you. And I said, no, I'm gonna try. So I cold called them. They hired me. Started working there. Didn't make any money for 13 months. Literally failing. Almost got fired. Then I begged. I said, don't fire me. I want to make it. I have it in me. And boom, I made my first deal.
Hey guys, welcome to the YM show, formerly known as From Forward. On this episode, I had on my father, interviewed him about everything from when he originally moved from Iran and his whole entire life story, from his first job in Del Taco to going to college, to becoming a broker, to eventually getting into real estate and all that. Super interesting episode. I think you guys will enjoy it. Before we hop into the episode, we have to talk about our sponsor. Sponsor is GBC Facility Services. They offer cleaning. They do all sorts of cleaning across Florida, across the U.S. actually, but mainly in Florida. If you're looking for your property cleaned, whether you're a property manager, nursing home owner, real estate owner, and you want to bring up your NOI, they can shoot you a quote and also offer free annual carpet cleaning. So if you're interested and you feel like you're overpaying, reach out. You can reach out to me, and my email is yosefmanoucheri@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hope you guys enjoy.
Alrighty, welcome to From Forward, everyone listening. This is going to be episode 14. It's a special episode because it's with my father. And I guess we're going to just go into your life story on this episode, starting from all the way from the beginning. So Abba, go ahead if you want to start off with your life story, your background, you know, where you came from, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, hi Yosef. This is really an exceptional, memorable opportunity. I've spoken in many conferences for years now, and done podcasts before, but never been interviewed by my own son or one of my sons. So it's quite a historical event for me, and already getting a lot of, we say we're shepping nachas out of this. We're getting a lot of joy sitting here with you. How would you like me to start?
The very beginning, where you grew up, I guess from when you were 5 years old. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay. I was born and raised in Iran, and lived my first 15 years in Iran, and remember everything clearly, from being very little to the time we moved to America in 1978. And grew up with the culture, went to a Jewish secular day school, and was mostly around Jewish kids, but there was also some Muslim kids there as well. High class, great school, great English program. They also taught Hebrew, and we also had a synagogue or a shul at the time there, and it was founded by an Iraqi guy. So I went to the same school literally for 10 years, and finally moved to America following my dad's vision in 1978. My father had been here in America before in the 1950s. He was in New York, he went to NYU, he got a degree, came back, married my mom, your grandmother, and he decided to move to America for a better life. He started a trading company early 50s, and my mom had multiple miscarriages, and they didn't work out, so they went back to Iran. So we restarted his company there. He had a company in New York. He was doing very well trading with a family. He was one of the very first 15, 20 young students who came to America in the 1950s, before anybody ever moved here. So he was always ahead of his time, my father. He was like a visionary. And more or less, that trait got transferred to me. So I was around that visionary my whole life. He always thought out of the box. He wanted to do the impossible, and he was well-read. He listened to the news all the time, read magazines, and very educated, very sophisticated, and it was just really great to be around him for a lot, 84 years of his life. So
Oh wow.
that's the story.
And how was it? How was life like growing up in Iran? What was like day to day like compared to now, in the U.S.?
It was a great life. We had a nice apartment. My father had just bought some land to build his dream home. He also bought some land by the Caspian Sea, right on the sea, on the sand, to build his villa. Obviously, that didn't happen because we moved here. But Jews at that time were living in total peace in Iran, and we were accepted in society. We could practice our religion easily, openly, and business was good. Things were progressing. We had vacations often. It was a great life, but the air wasn't clean at the time. I remember Tehran was very, very smoggy, and my father wasn't happy that he always loved America. He always wanted to come back to America, and we were surrounded by American TV, values, the entertainment, etc., and knowing the language well. I knew it well back then. So, America was looked up to at the time in Iran. I think it still is today with the young people. And it was his dream to come here. So we came here.
Oh wow. And then, what do you think the difference is in Iran back then versus Iran now? Because back then, there was a lot of Jews there, and I think there still is. So what really happened? What changed?
There is absolutely no comparison. I mean, back then the Shah was in power. He was a true melech, a true king, and you got to see malchus, or monarchy, as a kid. Growing up with all the ceremonies and the beautiful ornaments he used to wear, and how he had great command of several languages, and how Iran was respected in the world stage. And it was a very, very thriving, wonderful democracy. And growing up around Persians, especially Persian Jews or even Persian Muslims, were very clever, industrious people, innate sense of many, many things in life. And, they all came here to America. And I think probably the most successful group of immigrants that ever moved to America are the Iranians, without exception. Doesn't matter whether they are Jewish or Muslim, doesn't really make a difference. But most of the Jews, it's amazing what was done. But now you have a gangster regime, was what I call them. I call them. They're in power, and there's tremendous amount of abuse going on, fraud, etc. And it's a very, very sad situation where it's a dictatorship. It's not even close to a democracy, not a democracy at all. So it's very sad to see the destruction that has enveloped Iran now for 46 years.
Mm-hmm. And then let's go to like when you're around 15. When you moved here, if I'm incorrect, around 15, right? When you were
15, exactly.
When you were 15, right? So when you moved from Iran to the U.S., how did you adapt to the culture, the language? Like, were you already fluent in English? Like, how did that work? How was adapting to the States? Was that like a hard process? And how did that go?
I remember exactly when we first arrived at LAX with the whole family, and we had a lot of suitcases and needed a lot of space. So my dad got these two guys who had a limo. It was a long stretch limo, and he hired them. And the guy says, "Sir, where do you want to go?" He says, "We're going to Anaheim, California." I didn't know where Anaheim was. We had a friend. My dad had a friend who moved to Anaheim. So we got in the car, and these two guys loaded the limousine with suitcases. My father says, "How much do you want to charge?" They said $30. I'm like, "Wow, that's a lot of money, $30 as a kid." But today it's a bargain. And I got in the car, and as we're driving on the freeway, I'm looking at all these billboards, and I'm on the 5, and I'm like one billboard after another, and all these signs in English, and I'm like, God, wow, this is America. It is so exciting. I can't believe I'm here. And all those shows we used to watch on TV, 8 is Enough, and Days of Our Lives, and they had this American station called NIRT, and I'm like, wow, I'm really here now. I can't wait. It was just like a new beginning in life. It was so exciting. So, but we went to Anaheim. I think we settled in a motel for 3 weeks to a month, and my father had already bought a house, but that house was rented, so he decided to buy another house. And back then in Anaheim, this is 1978, you could buy a beautiful house for $110,000.
Wow.
That's what it cost back then. So that was the beginning, and it became the summer, and I bought my first 10-speed bike, went to Schwinn with my father, and I picked up a $210 bike, which I thought was very cool at the time, and got together with the kids in the neighborhood, started to play baseball, started to play football, started swimming, and got into sports, and the whole day would hang out with these guys, and I would work on my English. I learned slang, and they said, "Wow, you speak such good English. This is really impressive." And they had no idea these kids were mostly non-Jews, all American boys. Like, where is Iran? Like, you guys have like camels. You guys are on donkeys. That was the conceived notion of what Persians were, but they didn't know any better. So we had just a fantastic summer, and I started in high school, and it took off from there. And that was a whole other life.
And then how's navigating through college, like then after college and?
The first year that we moved, like 6 months after we moved here, was 1979. The Iranian Revolution happened, and then they took over the government, and right away they raided the U.S. Embassy,
right.
And they held all these poor American diplomats. And,
like that's the movie Argo.
The movie from Argo, yeah, 444 days. And every day they would count it on TV, and all of a sudden, we found ourselves as crime victims, because these kids, the ones who are all my friends, they start saying that, oh, you Persians, you're an Iranian, you're holding our people hostage. I'm like, I'm not holding anybody hostage. I came here for a better life. What are you talking about? I'm a Jew. It doesn't make a difference. An Iranian is an Iranian, an Iranian Jew, an Iranian Muslim. We're all the same. So we started having fist fights. I was getting beat up, and I had to learn how to fight. They would come at night and toilet paper our house.
Oh, wow.
And then that became getting your tires slashed. I think one night they slashed all of my father's Chevrolet Capri Classic tires in a row, and then after that they did the tires again, and then they started to write on the garage door, "Go home, go home." So it was a very difficult time, to go through this as a kid. So we had to call the police and put our lights in the front, and hopefully with the lights at night they wouldn't do the toilet paper in the house. But I still remember my ribs I was getting broken because I got into a boxing match with this kid called Robert Mestenek, who was my best friend, and all of a sudden became my biggest enemy. So we experienced, I wouldn't call it anti-Semitism. It was like being anti-Iranian at a very young age in 1979. And it toughened me up, and I experienced it still in school, for the 2 years I was there at Laura High School.
Wow, it's very good to hear these stories again. It's been a while.
You never heard these stories, huh?
I heard, and not so much in detail.
You heard bits and pieces.
I heard bits and pieces, yeah.
Right.
So I want to now pivot into when you first started working. Like humble beginnings, and what inspired you to pursue a career in real estate, and how you went about creating your company, Universe Holdings, and kind of building everything from ground up, coming from from Iran, not having any capital to start your company, and kind of how those humble beginnings were. If you can describe, what a day looked like when you first started.
Yeah, that first summer when we got here, I think, not the first summer, but the second summer after I finished high school. No, I didn't finish high school. I finished the first grade, I think. It was summertime. My dad says, you should really go get a job. I said, okay, I don't mind working. I used to work at my dad's company in Iran. as a son of the owner. He had at that time, I don't know, 50, 60 employees. And I said, okay, it's going to be a job like I used to work at my dad's warehouse, in this cosmetic company. So I went interviewing, and I went to a place called Del Taco. I don't know if it's around anymore. So it was like a McDonald's back then. And they had...
At what age was this? Just backtrack for a second. What age when you applied?
I was 15 and a half.
15.
So I started working. I got a job at Del Taco, $2.75 an hour. And my job was first was a cashier, then I started cooking hamburgers, and then tacos, and then French fries, and then cleaning the floor. And they would promote you based on, you would wear a badge, and you had all these different circles, depending on your seniority or how much skill you had.
Your
you
status.
get another color circle. So my goal was to get all the color circles I could. So I was working very hard, and the manager one day came to me and says, that car you drive is nicer than my car. I said, well, it's not my car, it's my father's car. I think I was 16 at the time. By the time that happened, because I got a license to drive to work. So being there, sweating every day behind the grill, all this stuff was like really learning it. And then the next summer I said, I'm about to go to college. I better upgrade. I like selling. So I got a job at Robinson's May. It used to be Robinson's back then, in Anaheim Plaza, and I started selling clothing in the men's department because I had some background as a kid with my uncle in Iran. I used to go in his retail store, very catered to the wealthy and the elite. So that skill came in handy. I learned how to sell. It was like, now I got upgraded. I was making $3.75 an hour plus commission. And I worked there that summer and also part-time through college. First year I worked there. And then after spending the first year of college at Cal State Fullerton, my dad says, we left you in Orange County, you're living with this Armenian family, come back to LA, be with me. I said, okay, I'll come. So I moved to LA, and I transferred to the Robinson's May in Beverly Hills. And I still started to work there. And then after that, stopped working and, had basically working, took like 17 units, had a full load at Cal State Northridge, and my father says, you should go into real estate. So I started, first I wanted to be in politics. So I took first year was a poli-sci course. And then my father, I was really enjoying it. My dad says, you can't really do anything with a political science degree. Although you love the subject and you wrote really great papers, you should get into finance and real estate. Your knack is real estate. So I changed my major and got some really fantastic finance teachers and loved it. And then I went for a scholarship. They were giving a $500 gift or a scholarship from the San Fernando Valley Board of Realtors. You have to write a good essay. So I wrote a good essay. I think it was 100 people or more. And they picked me. There was a Jewish lady called Eileen. She met with me and says, wow, I'm really impressed, and gave me the prize. And, what are your goals? I said, I want to be a broker. And then after that, I want to be an owner. And they said, wow, this is the most compelling presentation we heard. And I got the prize. I was very, very happy. And should I continue?
Yeah, continue. Go ahead. This is what we want to hear.
So I think it was the junior year of college. I went to work in a small residential brokerage company called Gribben Von Dyle. That was on Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks. And I started selling fourplex, duplex, sixplex, 10-unit buildings in Sherman Oaks and Van Nuys. I did a few deals. And,
so can we use backtrack a little bit? I want to talk about in the beginning, in the beginning how hard it was. You said in the beginning to make sales, and if you want to go into that story.
I was kind of dabbling in it. I made a couple commissions, but I kept trying to do it in college, but I was so driven. I didn't want to sell fourplexes. I didn't want to deal with a sixplex. I said, I got to do big deals. So I started to go work there part-time, and I would work on these $20, $30 million shopping centers. And my father introduced me to some people who knew, worked on office buildings. And although didn't really amount to any money.
This is before Marcus Millichap?
Yeah, way before Marcus Millichap, way before I graduated. So I did that, learned quite a bit, and when I graduated college finally after getting a degree in finance real estate in 1985, I said, where is the best place, for best company to go work for to learn the business? And I did my research, and they said, there's this place called Marcus Millichap. It was actually one of these old guys that everyone done. And it's like a boot camp, you know. They beat you up, and they work you, and they have to do proposals, and you have to make cold calls, and you have a quota. And I said, you know what? I want to go talk to these guys. And they'll never hire you. They'll never let you. And I said, no, I'm gonna try. So I cold called them, and I said, I want to come to real estate. So I went to an interview, and I sold myself. They hired me after interviewing like 4, 5, 6 different guys, and started working there. Didn't make any money for 13 months. I was like literally failing. Almost got fired. Then I begged the regional manager back then. His name was Harvey Green. I said, don't fire me. I want to make it. I have it in me. And boom, I made my first deal. And then that lasted 15 years there. Did a lot of deals. Some over $500 million worth of sales, and maybe over, by then probably $1 billion. And I became one of their top producers nationally, especially in the Encino office there. And then the itch started with becoming an owner. So that's the next chapter.
Yeah. No, so that's continues. Go ahead. It's just want to hear the whole like history of how it evolved.
So we had, I had done a lot of multifamily deals. I had sold office buildings. I had sold shopping centers. I sold industrial buildings. I did 1 or 2 hotel deals, and did some proposals on self-storage facilities. So I got to really understand the business, but it was everything. It was all California. I would once in a while try to sell a deal in our system to some clients in Dallas or Phoenix, Arizona, but it was really all California. And then the West LA became my specialty. But in 1993, 94, we had what was called the savings and loan crisis, where many government institutions got taken over by the Resolution Trust Corporation. It was called RTC back then. And they started fire selling billions of dollars worth of assets, our foreclosed properties. And we started selling what you called the REOs, like real estate owned from the banks, or foreclosed properties. And we would pitch these deals or get listings from Coast Savings, Home Savings, Washington Mutual, and all these banks, and give you 80% financing, 20% down, and 20% cash on cash, 25% cash on cash, and prices just crashed. I mean, it went from 90,000 a unit to 20,000 a unit overnight. It was like so much inventory. And I kept selling this, that. And I remember one day I went and met with this Israeli guy, and I showed him these deals. I had listings there from Home Savings. And he goes, no, 10-year financing is not long enough. I need 30 years. And what, 20% cash on cash return? That's too little for me. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, 20% cash on cash? I'll buy the building. He says, you can't buy the building. I said, why not? You're a broker. I said, really? You think I'm, I don't want anything because I'm a broker, I'm stupid? Of course I can do this. So that led to writing an offer on our first building, which we still own today, 30 years later. It's 16 units in Sycamore. The Gemara says you should never sell your first property. So we've kept it all these years. I made a ton of it. I think we made like a 15x on this building. So I went and made a bid, $30,000 a door, 80% financing. I had the weekend to come up with $120,000 down payment, and I had no money. So
you didn't have a network yet. It's your first deal.
So I went to my brothers, I went to my dad and my mom, and I convinced them over the weekend, like all nervous, that we got to come up with this $120,000, and I did my first syndication, 75-25 split day one. Finally, I said, my brother says, well, you got to put something in, so I put $10,000 in the deal. And that became our first deal, and my wife and I, Mommy and I managed it. So I was like, okay, we got this done, and then another REO came up. I said, okay, this one was 20 units, on Olympic Boulevard, which we still owned, in West LA. Bought that for $20,000 a door, $400,000. Today it's worth probably $6 million, and we still own it. We refinanced it 8 times, and then the next investor was me, my brothers, my father, and my brother's father-in-law. And then the next one was a 24-unit building in the valley. Then it became some friends from shul I met. But when I talk about the syndication model in the syndication world, about friends and family, I really did the friends and family. I mean, every person I knew, every friend, everywhere I went, the deals started to grow, and they got bigger and bigger. 24 became 50, 50 became 70, 70 became 80.
And then when did you stop becoming a broker? How many deals in were you like, I'm just going to do the syndication route?
Yeah, in the year 2000, I had 400 units. And at that time, I think we had 3 or 4 kids. And I told mommy, told my wife, because you were sitting here saying mommy, said, I don't really want to do this brokerage anymore. I'm tired of running around and always worried about a pipeline, and it's like a hamster, running around in this circle, and you just never stop from fee to fee, pipeline, having nightmares, and I said I don't enjoy this. I want to go out and be an owner, and I think I can buy and own thousands of units one day. So by the time we had 400 units, there was enough money coming in from cash flow and management fees. I said, it's time to leave. So I rented an office. My dad said, get an office right near your house because you'll save time driving. It was another great advice of my father. And I rented our first office, 1,200 square feet, right here, Beverly Hills, corner of Olympic and Beverly Drive. I would walk to work every day. And I opened my office with 1 employee. Just the 2 of us, my secretary who came over. And then I hired another one after that a couple months later. And I said, it was just weird seeing that the first day. Like, I used to be in an office with 50, 60 people, phones ringing, people running around. It's like a stock market. I'm like, wow, this is scary. There's nobody here. I'm like, what am I going to do? I said, well, why don't we buy 1,000 units? That's what was my first goal. I got to buy another 600 units. So we did it in a year, and it was just really exciting to get to 1,000 units. And then, we started to buy outside of LA, went to San Diego, did our first big, massive deal. At that time, it was $50 million. And then found a bank partner, Bank of America, and that was the beginning of the takeoff. And
very cool.
But I took all the knowledge I had, everything I learned from the Marcus Millichap days, because I loved the company. And today, Mr. Marcus is and has been one of my largest investors in a number of our bigger deals. And I admire everything they do, so I implemented it, from our style of dress, which is still suits in our office 4 days a week, to looking good, to having beautiful offices, state-of-the-art, hiring great people. And it's a science to be perfected over 30 years. Mm-hmm. And here we have today 22 people in the office and over 130 employees nationwide. So it can be done.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to cover is kind of, everyone calls it like the work-life balance. So how do you go about balancing family, work, and and religion even,
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to my wife, Mommy, the other day, and she says, well, you don't really work full-time. You work part-time. I'm like, what are you talking about? I work so hard, like all the time. She says, no. You want to be like Blackstone one day. You want to be Steve Schwartzman, and you want to be, Equity Residential or whoever. Those guys don't have a life. You have a life, and they're always working. I said, well, I'm also always working. She says, well, let me ask you a question. I said, what? She says, do they go to a minyan every day? I said, I don't know. I don't think so. I said, do they learn Torah every day, an hour or 2? I said, no. I said, do they go to the gym every day? I said, yeah, but they'll probably go 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30, but I can't because I'm davening nets then. Yeah. And they said, at night, do they go to Mincha Ma'ariv? I said, no, I do. I don't miss minyanim. And she says, did they keep Shabbos? I said, probably not. do they keep Yom Tovim, holidays? I said, no. And he said, do they leave early on Fridays like you do? Or because you learn half day on Fridays, so we work like 2-3 hours only. Do they do that? I said, no. And she said, do they travel as much as you do? I said, no. I said, do they have as many grandkids, as many kids as you do? I said, no. And I said, okay, you're right. She said, maybe if you think of it that way,
Then you don't work full time.
then I am working part-time.
Mm-hmm.
But philosophy is, thank God we have enough to eat, more than that. And there is, thank God, a big family today. 6 married children, 2 unmarried at home. Soon they'll be married in the next couple of years when the time comes. And 16 grandkids and more coming, more on the way, God willing. It's just the beginning. So it's just it's a beautiful life. And if you're a competitive guy and it's your nature to be ambitious and you're a big thinker and you want to grow, I still have that energy. I'm 61 now, but I feel like I'm still 25. I mean, your brothers, Aaron, Avi, always tell me, Abba is like a 25-year-old. Like he's not gonna stop. And I watched, these Holocaust survivors. Many of them were my clients back in the day. Running went into their 90s, 95, 96, 97. They built these monstrosity companies, and today the second, third generation is running those companies. And these guys, God bless them. God bless them in Shamayim. God bless them, the ones who are still alive. They were a tremendous inspiration. And you see how even young people today, young Jewish guys in Lakewood, in LA, in New York, in Miami, all these places where they've scaled their companies and I own tens of thousands of units. It's really inspirational. And so today, I still think what am I going to do the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years? What's going to be a legacy? So now I'm more planning for the next generation, but the energy and the drive is as good as they want.
Still there.
Still there, and I don't know. No, don't plan to slow down.
Okay, amazing. I just want to pivot also.
But I'm still working part-time, right?
I want to pivot towards the end, to get into how you got so involved with the community, with the Jewish community in Los Angeles, and also you're close to a lot of Rabbanim in the community also. So what do you think that's important, and how has that played a role in your life?
So as you well know, I wasn't raised from religious. Neither was my wife. We got mekarev, got basically brought in and pulled in close. That's the right term in English, pulled in close, mekarev. I had a dear friend who's still a very dear friend. I met him at Marcus Millichap. We worked together in Nas and Fabian. And he took me to a 48-based class to Wisdom at Esha Torah in the Valley with Rabbi Svi Block. And I loved that class. And then went out to a Shabbaton. And I went to another Shabbaton. And then I met Mommy. And she didn't know anything either. I knew a little more because we were more traditional. Being Persian, you know a lot more than Americans at that time who were secular. So we decided to become religious. I went to yeshiva for 3 weeks. She went to Nevi Yerushalayim for 3 months. They came back, decided to get married. Had to convince my dad that I can marry an American lady. It's going to be fine. That was 2 years of selling. Finally, he said, okay. We did it, and we sat down with my wife back then, Mommy, and we wrote a 10-year plan of how we're going to run our life. Everything written down. And it came true. We had a plan. We had a purpose. But one of those was that I would go to Minyanim every day. I wouldn't miss, except when I'm traveling. Obviously, I try to not to miss that either. And that I would learn Torah every day. And I would dedicate more and more time to learning. And as we became more successful and financial abilities improved, we decided to understand the power of tzedakah. And that's a very, very big thing I do. In fact, your brothers, Avi and Aaron, even yourself, you guys are huge about tzedakahs. You've learned really very well from me. And that's going to be your legacy for all of you to continue. So I'm involved in the community. I've been involved in Kiruv now for 30 years. Made a lot of people made many people meet each other, get married, Baruch Hashem. And the latest involvement in the last 8 years has been leadership in the community in LA, trying to connect all the shuls together, the kolelim, the yeshivas, day schools, and the synagogues and all the rabbis in one united front, and to service the needs of the community. And I think lately I made another commitment that I'm going to go back to personally more speaking events, sitting with young people, going to kiruv camps. Like I'm involved with Heritage. I enjoy going there. I've been going to this program for like 30 years. And you want to have a meaningful life. You want to leave something behind. Because all this money we make, all these buildings, thousands of units we buy and this and that, none of it we're going to take with us. None of it. But we take the good deeds, we take the tzedakah, and how we changed the world and how we changed people's lives. That's really important to me. And I'm going to be spending more time on this kiruv. I think it's essential. So now I often get involved in board meetings of shuls. I'm a president of the kollel in LA with Yachad. I'm involved with Rabbi Grade in his kollel. I'm involved with Adas on the board. I'm involved with Rabbi Zagyai at Torah Chaim to a great extent. We also support Rabbi Yaakov Hillel in Eretz Yisrael on his gigantic kollel enterprise. And Tzedakah has become a huge part of our life. And learning Torah. I'm just trying to spend more and more time every day in improving myself, in changing, in growing. And you look today, you look at our grandkids, you look at our son-in-laws, look at my sons and our daughters and daughter-in-laws. They're all B'nai Torah, every single one of them, in their own way. No games, no hanky-panky craziness, just real seriously, because we set the tone, we set the example. And people should know that your kids watch you. They watch everything you do. Nothing is an accident.
Yeah.
And Hashem rewards you. He really does. When you support Torah and your kids see when the Rabbanim come to your house and how you greet them and how you sit with them and how you write those checks, they see all that. Becomes part and parcel of their DNA. And that's what makes it so special to see the next generation already, with the same mindset, and they want to take it to the next level.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
And I just wanted to finish off with two more things because we have to run. It's Erev Pesach. It's Erev Pesach. Anyone listening?
Well, we find the time to do this, didn't we?
Yeah. So what would you tell your 20-year-old self now, if you can go back in time? What would you tell yourself, or someone who's just starting, who's 20, starting a family?
There's going to be a lot I would tell myself, because nobody is perfect. People make mistakes, and we also do a lot of things right. Fortunately, I did many things right, and I made mistakes, a few mistakes. So I haven't had much time to really think about this question. It's a very deep question. But
it could be it could be principles, values, certain things that you would tell someone.
I think number one, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to listen to that inner voice inside you. Call it a gut feeling, call it your moral compass, call it your greater calling. You got to answer to it. You can't hide from it. You gotta be honest. You gotta have integrity. You gotta be upfront. And we've seen this with you guys. You guys have known, just like I'm known, and my father was known, my grandfather was known, have a tremendous, good, positive reputation. It's very, very important to manage your reputation. It takes 20 years to build a reputation. That's what Warren Buffett said. It takes 20 seconds to lose it. So reputation, integrity is key, honesty. Secondly is enjoying in life what you do. Don't go into something you don't like doing, even though you're making a lot of money at it, and you're miserable. Because if you are happy with what you did, even though it doesn't look like something as glorious as somebody else is doing, but the fact that you like it, the fact that you enjoy it, you're going to be successful at it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, I think people should be very conscious about their fitness, how they eat. That's been my motto. I work out 6-7 days a week. I try to eat healthy. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But it's kind of hard with Shabbat and Chagim and all these L'chaims and stuff that goes on. But more and more, I'm becoming more conscious about about health and its values and a balanced life where there is ruchniyut, there is spirituality, there is physical fitness, there is family, and there is Hashem obviously on top of it all, and then there is a career. So these are some of the things I would do, and I know the other thing is what would I not do differently? I wouldn't worry as much. I worried a lot as a kid. I worry a lot less these days, but because I worked on my emunah, my faith and trust in God, a lot. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But we're getting there. I wouldn't worry so much. A lot of young people nowadays worry, and the other thing is to tell young people. I've said this before. You see this damn thing here, this telephone. This is a nice tool if it's used wisely. But I have a policy now, and I've put lockers in many shuls. When people come to shul to daven, they have no business at all to have their phone out and send emails, text messages in the middle of davening. If you want to do that, you might as well just go to the office. You might as well not even come here. You're cheating yourself. As we say in Farsi, Baba. I say, Baba, you are standing in front of God, and growing up in Iran around Muslims, God bless the real devout Muslims. You learn from them what I know what real God is. You saw people in mosques down these places. I mean, we saw this. I mean, you were standing in front of a melech. What is this thing on your phone? What's wrong with you? Why are you here? Put the damn thing away. Let your brain relax. My father used to always say, Henry, set aside 2 to 3 hours a day, if you can, to read, to learn, to grow, and we have to put the phone away. It's just consuming us. And nowadays,
we're just so attached to it. It becomes like an extension of you.
You go into a restaurant, you go to families' homes, and people are sitting with each other, and everybody's like this, staring at this screen. They're not really there. You can't be on a date with your wife or with your, on a family outing with your kids and taking the telephone out. It's offensive. You don't do it in front of a president. If you stand in front of President Trump today, or Biden, or Netanyahu, or Putin, whoever you want to have, you're not going to play with your telephone.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. And, write down. And then the other thing is take a list every night. I do it. Mommy does it a lot. The good old way. Pen, paper. Write down what you're going to do the next day. And set yourself goals. And constantly visit this. I know you do it, Yosef.
Yeah,
I know how organized and how productive you are. It's remarkable. I do it. The mommy does it. I don't do it enough. So I would do it more if I was 20 years old today.
What about you said before? You said when you started your family, you had like a 10-year vision of values, things you want to accomplish. What do you think the importance of vision is and how it comes into fruition?
Vision is a product of being in touch with your inner self, being honest with yourself, and it's also a byproduct of ambition. Ambition is a great virtue. If you don't let it abuse you, but you use it. Today, that's the other issue with young people. Because of this woke culture, extreme left ideology, Marxism, communism, lunacy, they are teaching people not to work hard, to go and smoke marijuana, and give them legalized pot, to get high. What kind of business is this? Go play tennis, for God's sake. Go swim. Go run a marathon. Go lift weights if you want to get high.
Yeah.
It's healthier. It's better. What is this nonsense? So, this is how we were raised. This is the America we came to. It was the America of the land of dreams, and where you could do anything you want. And you could be anywhere in the world. It's part and parcel of us Persian Jews to have a DNA for achievement, for success, for accomplishment. And if we couple that with ruchniyut, with spirituality, and having Hashem in our life, and having community in our life, it's a wonderful life. It's a fabulous life. That's what I would tell a 20-year-old today.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ava, it was amazing. Love you.
Love you.
It's great to have you on.
It's great.
And
Very proud of you, Yosef. Keep it up.
I'll do my best.
Okay, all the best.
Alrighty.
Much Hatzlach and everything you do. All the best.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.